Hi, Aurora. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Good to have you here. I am so interested in talking to you because you are one of those stories that we always hear about, not in first person, but somebody knows somebody, right? The
Mhm.
2020 hits, it's pandemic, everybody's locked into the house, wondering what to do with their time, what to do with their life. You, on the other hand, decide to start your first entrepreneurial venture, something that you've been dreaming about for a very long time. Product is called Laundry Buddy. What is Laundry Buddy?
Laundry Buddy is actually a clip that I have right here. It's a universal tool. The first use for it we came out with was because my husband helped me, is you clip it onto your fitted sheet. So you hold it hot dog style. You clip as many laundry buddies as you want on. It varies on the sizes. Then you put it in your washer and your dryer so that you don't go to your dryer and you have to pull everything out of the fitted sheet because it's damp and then you have to run the dryer for longer. That was like the bane of my existence. I could not stand that problem. So that was why I invented Laundry Buddy. And it also has other uses for women. You have your sports bras and your bathing suit tops. You have those removable padding. You clip one on each side, and then there's no more folding or it falling out. And people use it to pair socks. People absolutely love it for that reason. There's multiple uses for it. So that is what Laundry Buddy is. It's your helping little friend in the laundry.
I love it. I love it. Like a true entrepreneur, you personally
Mhm.
faced a problem, you got fed up with it, and you created a solution not only just to help yourself, but millions of other people who are in the same shoes.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this question. What was going on in your mind during the pandemic that you finally realized, you know what, I'm going to move with this? What was happening in your mind at the time?
So I actually was a realtor at the time, and then the pandemic hit, and we were deemed not essential. And I live in Colorado, and I'm from California, so I didn't have a big sphere of influence to begin with. And I was pregnant with my second, and I had my first son who was under 2. So I didn't have a lot of time to put into the real estate business, and I honestly got my real estate license for capital for Andiamo Home, which to create Laundry Buddy. And I decided, you know what? This is almost like the universe pushing me saying, you need to drop this. There's no more, oh, I have to prepare. I have to prepare. You just need to go and you need to do it. And I just realized I wasn't happy with my life. I really wanted to create Laundry Buddy, but I didn't have the confidence in myself and my abilities to do so. And I needed to work on those abilities so that I was able to become this person to run my own business and to invent Laundry Buddy.
You touched upon something there. You said the universe was finally telling you, go ahead, you need to
Yeah.
do this, no longer need to prepare for over and over, right? That is such a
Yeah.
real thing because so many times in life, as entrepreneurs, we have a great idea. We know what we want to do, but we feel like we're just not prepared enough. If
Yeah.
we did a little bit more studying or a little bit more preparation, we would be ready. Tell us
Mhm.
about that phase in your life. What was happening prior to the days of confidence and moving with Laundry Buddy? What was happening in the days when you felt like I have this great idea, but I can't just move on it yet? Tell us about that.
I had a lot of anxiety, and I also think that just was linked to analysis paralysis. Like you said, where you're just like, okay, let me look at this move. Is this right? Is this correct? No, I should do it this way. Oh, no, that's wrong. Okay, let me go back to the drawing board. And that's basically how it went. I constantly was like, I can't do that because I need all these little ducks in a row. And that's how I was in my life. I never took action. And I always was like, oh, I have this idea one day, one day. And finally, I just realized that one day is going to pass me by and then I'm just going to regret it. And I'm going to be like, someday I should have done it and I didn't. That day is gone. So I didn't want to have that be my life anymore. And I realized that I kept having this vision, this dream of Laundry Buddy, and there was a reason for it. It's because I was supposed to bring it to life.
I look back at my life sometimes at the pivotal moments. Looking back at it, it's this romantic story. It's this romantic story of me struggling and having a dream and getting up and being motivated, at least the way I tell it. I truly
Yeah.
believe it. When I was in that moment, it wasn't as romantic. When I was in the
No.
moment, there was a lot of pain and suffering, right? And a lot of anxiety, like you said, like a lot of self-doubt. So going back into that time frame when you were struggling, what was causing that anxiety? What was causing that self-doubt?
It was just who I was as a person. I grew up, I'm actually a third generation entrepreneur. And my dad, I'd always be interested and come up with ideas for his business. And you go, no, you need to go get a stable job. This is not a good career path. So that part was always shoved aside. And I didn't fully embrace that. And I learned that I needed to nurture it myself. And my dad had good intentions. He just wanted a stable career for me. And it's very stressful running and owning your own business. So on top of that, and also also, I have an associate's. I applied to 7 colleges and not one of them accepted me. So I was always deemed the pretty skinny sister. I wasn't the smart sister. So I didn't believe in my own abilities. And it's like that quote where you judge a fish ability to climb a tree, it's going to believe its whole life that it's not smart or that's stupid. And that's how it was, is I don't have a college degree. I don't know how to do any of this. So why on earth do I think that I can go and do this? So I really just had to rebuild myself brick by brick to become this person that can do this, because I always had these belief systems that I couldn't. So it's just stemmed from everything, from my thinking and belief system to my systems that I had in place.
It's incredible. The reason it is because you could have taken so many other routes. There are so many people who are told from young adulthood by their teachers, by their parents, maybe by their friends, there's something wrong with them. They are not like everybody else. They're deficient in something. And that becomes part of their identity. And when that becomes part of their identity, sometimes it's almost impossible to shake it off. So for someone listening to this, perhaps who are stuck with an identity that was placed upon them, as someone who slowly peeled that away, who built yourself brick by brick, what are some of the things you did to discover your true identity and not be stuck with the one that was just a label?
I'd say the first go to therapy. That was very helpful. And those first couple of months were very rough. I told my therapist, I called it the couch of sadness, because every time I went in there, you're just bawling, crying, and they're kind of just holding this mirror up to you. I also learned I needed to sit with my feelings. You need to stop shoving everything away in this little pocket. Of course, there are some like moments in time where you need to compartmentalize for survival, but then you need to go back, you need to revisit the feelings, and you need to figure out why you are the person you are. And that was also the biggest thing to me too, was I have this feeling, okay, why do I have this feeling? Well, because of this. Why? And you honestly just get all the way, you keep asking yourself why, and you get down to the root of it. Oh, that's why. It's just a lot of things that people said to me, I didn't realize I actually took it to heart, and I deemed that as part of my identity. And I just was this adult who I just felt like you get like emotionally stunted at a certain age, and then you go, okay, like I need to work on myself because I'm not who I am. I'm preconditioned to what my environment told me to be, and I've never fit in this environment.
I never fit in this environment. That is such a
Yeah.
lovely way to look at it, because, like you said in an analogy before, you can't expect a fish to climb a tree and then judge it by its ability. But again, this is just one of those things that is so easy to say and so hard to do, right? Building up this mind. Did you have influences from others other than therapists that kind of helped you discover who you are? Or was this more you fighting your own demons from within?
I wouldn't say, not people I knew. I listened to a lot of podcasts from like other entrepreneurs that went through this. Even my husband, I empathize what you went through, but I can't fully understand. Like I sympathize, but I can't fully empathize. I don't really understand. Or like your friends and family, there's I don't really remember it that way. But it happened. So I think it was from like entrepreneurs where they felt like the black sheep in life, and like listening to these podcasts, and I was like, oh yeah, like that's exactly how I felt. That's how it was. And it can be like a very lonely path. Like you grow through this journey of self-growth, because first I went through it, and of course now I'm like this evolved person. I've evolved in a different way, and then you figure out how does this newly evolved person fit into all these old relationships with my family, with my marriage, with my friends. It can be pretty lonely, but I would never take it back, because now like the people who are meant to be in my life grew with me, and they understand how I now feel and what I went through. So it could be pretty lonely in the beginning, but it's definitely well worth it.
Anytime we have a major transformation in our lives, you're right, it's
Mhm.
very difficult to fit back in with people we used to hang
Yeah.
out with. And I told you one of
Mhm.
my most recent transformation was from going from 41% body fat to 6% body fat. And I couldn't
Yeah.
hang out with my same friends anymore. Because back in the day when I was the unofficial mascot of Pillsbury Doughboy, all we did was eat and drink, right? That's
Yeah.
what we did all day, all night. I couldn't do that anymore because I'm on a very strict diet. So all of a sudden, people are
Mhm.
texting me, hey, do you want to go out and do this thing? I can't. But do you want to come out to this gathering? I
Mhm.
can't. Oh, and then it becomes, oh, you're better than us now. You don't want to hang out with us. There's so many
Yeah.
variations that it comes into, and you start feeling so misunderstood. You start feeling like, no,
Mhm.
it's not that I don't love you and I don't want to hang out with you anymore. I'm trying to be better. So, in your story, when trying to fit back in with your family, having gone through this personal development phase and coming out as a completely
Mhm.
different person, what were some, give just some examples of instances where you felt like it was difficult to reconnect with them?
I honestly, just from making Laundry Buddy, when I told like some family and friends, like a very close group, it was, that's got to exist already. I'm like, it doesn't. And they're like, okay, why? Why are you doing this? Do you think it's going to be successful? And you know what? I don't know if it is, but my intention behind it is to help other people. And I think that's going to be very pivotal in my success, because I'm not out here to make a quick buck. I genuinely care and I want to help people. That's one. And then also going through my whole journey of self growth, I'd say you go through different stages where you wake up and you go, oh my God, like I see it now. And then you want to show all these other people, look, like I found this. This is so amazing. And other people are like, you're insane. What are you talking about? You're like, no, come with me. It's great. And I think the best analogy is that with the other people with their own journeys, you have to treat them like they're a butterfly. They're in a cocoon. You cannot break out the cocoon to help get them evolved to the next stage, because they won't survive. They're not ready yet. So you just have to stand back and go, okay, you're going to build enough strength and you're going to come out when it's your time and evolve into the next stage. Because honestly, I think that we always should keep evolving. Why would you want to live the same day 60 years? What's the point? So I think that was the hardest thing, of just also just accepting the new boundaries and the new dynamics and grieving what you thought was going to be. And it's not, but that it's not a bad thing. It's just that's not meant for you. Because I would love to have different relationships with like my family and be a lot closer, but it's just not going to be that way. But that's fine. It's nothing personal. And so I'm not good, they're bad. There's nothing like that, or vice versa. It's just, that's just how it is. You just have to accept it. It's not personal.
As someone who has gone through so many hardships, I always say
Mhm.
suffering gives us wisdom that books just don't teach us. We have a
Yeah.
different perception of life when we have lived a life of struggle. We see things in
Mhm.
people differently. So, what's your take on why do you think people are naysayers? The same people who love you, the same people who support you, the same people you've grown up with, all of a sudden you tell them, I want to do this thing. And almost always the very first reaction is, doesn't this always exist? What makes you think you can do it? What is it
Yeah.
about people that they do that?
My personal perspective on it is they are telling you their limits and capabilities and not yours. They don't think that they could come out with a product or run their own business. Or like me, my family is very close knit and I moved to Colorado, and that was like, they were not happy or supportive about that for a very long time. And it's because I don't think that they think they'd be able to do that themselves. So they're telling me what their capabilities are and not mine. And I think that's a lot of people. Or I also think that people just love to project, which is part of it, their beliefs, and they want to project it onto other people. And if you don't view the same way, they think that it's an attack on their beliefs, but it's not. I respect your views, you respect mine. That's the way you want to live your life. That's great, but it's not the way I want to live it. Doesn't mean your way is wrong. It's just how it is. So I think that it could be some of that. It could be wrong. Some people may have different perspectives on it, but that's mine.
Let's talk about baby Aurora. Let's talk about when you were
Yeah.
little, right?
Hmm.
Back at your upbringing, was is there a specific moment in your mind? Doesn't have to do anything with entrepreneurship, doesn't have to do with anything. What is the most brightest, vibrant memory that you have?
I just remember always thinking differently or just behaving differently than my family. Like I've always have been very outspoken, and I've been told I talk too much. My parents were like, you should be a lawyer because you always are countering us. And I questioned a lot of things, and I was very curious, and I was also very creative, all of which my family, those are not their strong suits. So that I just felt like a black sheep. And I always even remember not liking California or like our town. I was like, okay, it's cool, but it's not for me. I was like 7. And then
Hmm.
we went and visited my cousin to Colorado because she actually got married here. And I was like, yep, this is it. This is where I want to live. And I think at that point I was like 9. I don't know. I just like my thought processes, my beliefs, everything was different. So I felt very much like the black sheep and the outcast. And my family placed valued on different things than I did. So that made me feel like I didn't fit in and though I wasn't good enough for my family. But then I realized that my differences are, they're just, my mind is so invaluable to me, my creativity, that I realized this is what propelled me to do this, to create Laundry Buddy and start my own company.
There is such a duality in your personality. On one hand, you have this bent where you want to fit in and you want to be accepted. But on this other
Yeah.
hand, you also have this independent streak. When you are young, did you feel like you were more of a rebel or did you feel like you were more of a rule follower?
Oh, I grew up in a Italian Catholic household, so I went to Catholic school from kindergarten to 12th grade. So there definitely was a rule following. I still would try and push my luck, the boundaries here and there, but then I would have that my mom be like, "Jesus sees everything." Like I remember getting my license, and there's a point where you're not supposed to drive other people because you just have I forget first 6 months or something. And I'd have my friends lay down the back. I'm having all your aunts and uncles checking up on you, but don't you remember Jesus is watching you? So I would chill with that. So I definitely was a rule follower. But to me, I was like, is this worth breaking the rule? It was like a silly little thing, like I wouldn't do it. But for me, where I was like, no, this is staying true to who I am. I'm gonna break it. I don't want to do this. So yeah, it definitely was conflicting a little bit.
No, and I think those were the founding blocks, the
Mhm.
building blocks towards who you are today.
Yeah.
Because you're still maintaining the duality of doing the right thing and performing the roles and responsibilities of a mother and a
Yeah.
wife while also pursuing what you really want to do. Because for
Yeah.
entrepreneurs, especially female entrepreneurs, sometimes there's a lot of doubt and confusion about, am I
Mhm.
being selfish towards myself by doing something for myself? Or should I be dedicating
Mhm.
all of it that I have to my family? Right.
Oh yeah.
And the independent thinking that you're bringing to this by asking those questions that you asked yourself years and years ago, or perhaps
Yeah.
inferring upon what you're doing today. What do you think?
Oh, definitely. I think the major thing in terms of also taking time for yourself and being a mom is that you cannot pour into other people's cups if yours is empty. And then also like going to therapy and then I were meditating or working out or doing these things for me and my husband obviously being like, no, I got it. I'll take them. You need your time is it took me, I felt guilty, but then it was like, if I'm not being the best version of myself, then I'm putting this version onto them and I don't want that. And like I say, when you and I talked about this, when you're older, when your kids get older, they're going to realize who you are as a person and they're going to stop having this like unconditional love for you. Or maybe they will, but they might not like you when they're older. Like, I love my mom, but I don't really like her. I want them to be able to like me because I am this good person. I'm also this person who tries to fill up my cup so I can help other people. And I'm not this burden or this toxic person in their life.
Living your life in a way so that you can serve yourself, serve others, and also be a role model for the next generation, right? We want our kids to be able to look at us and understand the sacrifices that we made, but also understand the
Yeah.
hard work it took to get where we are. Because in a
Mhm.
world where everybody's telling everybody how difficult something is, or on the other hand, how easy something is, creates a series of entitled people who doesn't understand what it really takes to make it. What did it take
Mhm.
mom to suffer all those years to hear the no's and then come up with the strength and the resilience to be able to create Laundry Buddy when everybody was saying it's not a good idea? That's a story that
Yeah.
your kids need to understand. And without you
Mhm.
filling up your cup in your example, you wouldn't be able to pour into theirs to be able to help them. So I find that fascinating. Let's talk about different part of your life. We've talked about how you're growing up in Catholic school. There's definitely a version of you that needs to follow rules and needs to do the right thing. But there's also a little bit of a rebel of you, and you're evaluating kind of situations on your own. You have this independent streak. Your family had two generations of entrepreneurs before you. You would think that coming from an entrepreneurial family, if people didn't know this about you and they just read about you after listening to this on the podcast, oh, she's a third
Yeah.
generation entrepreneur, they would just assume she just got handed things. It must have been
Yeah.
so easy. She must have been taught by her dad what to do, taught by her grandparents what to do. She just grew up in an entrepreneur family knowing by default what to do. It wasn't really the case.
Not even a little bit. No. So my Nona, grandmother for Italian, her and my Nona immigrated here after they got married, and she started her own clothing contractor business in Los Angeles. And then her business partner bounced on her. So she asked her kids, like, "Hey, who can help me?" And my dad said, "I don't know what I want to do with my life. I'll drop out of college college, sure, I'll help you. And he did. And then when she died, he took over the business. So me and my sisters spent going summers going over there, just watching my dad work, slash like we were gymnasts. So we would like swing on the bars. We shouldn't. We were there hanging the garments and running around. But I would always like to walk with him, behind him, and I'm listening to him directing people. And I thought, oh, this is so great. This is awesome. Like my dad owns his own business. That's so cool. And being able to see it and see how everyone's working and how it's all coming together. And there were rough times. In 2008, a lot of things were being outsourced to China. So my dad was struggling a lot. And I know that was very stressful for him. So I know for stability wise, that's why they pushed like the medical system onto us. Like my sisters are nurses. And I understand it was coming from a place of love. Okay, this is stable. You get a retirement plan. You're good. Do this. That's just not how I function. But I did the aspect of helping people. And this is my way of helping people, is by saving them from a nuisance with laundry. But no, it absolutely was very discouraged. And it's frustrating because especially seeing how I was not fitting into all these boxes, it would have been nice if my dad would have been like, all right, let's maybe give this a shot, kind of thing. Let me, you want to come to work with me? Maybe you can work with me, or I don't know. It sucks that I wasn't encouraged and it took me so long for me to figure it out myself, but maybe that's the way it had to be. That I really had to fight my way for it to show myself that I wanted it. This is where I'm supposed to be.
Having come out on the other side, having shown the grit and determination from a personality perspective and execution from launching a product, taking it to market, has your dad's viewpoint changed at all?
Oh, he thinks it's really cool. They were just out here last month for my youngest son's birthday, and he actually went with me to our manufacturer to pick up some laundry buddies. And he asked for a tour of the factory, and he was talking to everyone there. And he was like, wow, this is really cool. And we got back in the car. I said, like, that was special. I'm glad I got to share that moment with you. He's, yeah, no, like, that was awesome. So, like I said, it wasn't like they were discouraging because they just didn't want me happy, or I don't even think they knew that truly that's who I was going to turn out to be. It was just, we want you taken care of. We really think that you picking a job in the medical field is just stable and I don't have to worry about you. So I think that's what comes down
Is
to.
that something they still feel, or is that something they felt in the past?
Oh, they know I'm their special daughter in a way. They just know. And if they tell me something, I'm just gonna do the opposite. That's how I've always been. But I think now just the puzzle has come together and they can see the full picture. Why I was the way I was, why I am who I am now, and why this works for me. Because it's who I was meant to be. So now, no, they're very supportive of Laundry Buddy. And like I said, like he came with me to the manufacturer. He was really excited, thought it was awesome. So it's definitely a closure now for me.
Let's move into the actual entrepreneurial tactical steps. If I'm listening to this podcast and I'm thinking, wow, Aurora did it. She's such an inspiration. I've been wanting to do this for such a long time, but I don't even know where to get started. I have a product idea, physical product idea. What would you say? What are the first couple of steps they can do to get this going?
It depends on your product first and foremost. So mine was a plastic. So we found someone that CNCs machines in our city, and we were able to trial the prototype to an extent, because CNC machining, there's different plastics, and it wasn't the plastic that we needed. So once we figured out the design, then we got an injection mold made. Also here in the US, everything is 100% made in the US. And then we picked our plastic and we had it manufactured. We first started selling on Shopify. We have our Shopify still, but we are primarily on Amazon, which I recommend because you just can't beat the traffic of Amazon, even if you have your own Shopify. And then it was just figuring out, okay, now how do we get the exposure? And we tried the Facebook ads, the Instagram ads, we tried putting stuff on Pinterest. We found that Amazon was where it works for us. And also, I think another reason Amazon's so amazing is because no matter with what generation you're dealing with, they trust Amazon. The older generation is not inclined to buy on Instagram and Facebook because they're worried about the security, which I understand. But you look at the young generation and TikTok, Instagram, that's where they buy most of their things. They're heavily influenced that way. But Amazon, everyone trusts that platform. So that's where we are right now. So yeah, I would just say trialing ads across the board on different platforms, because it also depends on who your target audience is and the demographic. And each platform obviously has their own niche. So that's how we did it.
Zooming into the first couple of steps, when you have an idea for a product, when you started looking for manufacturers and you went
Yeah.
in there and you pitched them the idea, what was the first reaction they had?
We found that we were limited as to what manufacturers because of what plastic we are, because it's a very high quality plastic, because I do not want to jip people and I don't want to steal their money for a cheap product. So we were limited in that aspect. And then also, we were amateurs. We did not know the questions to ask. I'm not an engineer. And it's funny because we'd be talking to the engineers and I'm like, okay, layman's terms, like we need to break it down, keep going, keep going. They're like, okay. Or they get like this salesperson go, let me translate. Tell us. This is actually, we're on our third manufacturer because our plastic is unique and you need certain components for it to work. So it's hard. I honestly, like, we also looked at YouTube videos too. If you're not very educated on that manner, you can look at YouTube videos so that you can then see what's the common theme here of what these people are saying. Okay, let me take note of that. I need to ask that, or this is what I need to look for. So going to the manufacturers, now we're on one and it's in town, which is great. So we're able to go and see and supervise and talk out issues that we have and be able to see in person, which is very helpful. So yeah, the first one made our mold, and then the second one wanted to make a couple of modifications, and you learn as you go. Because like I say, we're not engineers, so we don't know. I said, hey, make me this injection mold. I don't know if they're properly doing it or not. So it's also just me trial and error, unfortunately.
No entrepreneur story is complete without some mistakes they have made. We have, any one of us who has started a company, we have been burned. It's one way or the other.
Yeah.
And while
Yes.
it's painful in the moments, there's a little bit of humor when we look back at it. And there's a lot of wisdom when we share it with others, so that they can avoid the mistakes that we have made. Was there ever a moment like that in your journey?
Yes. We hired a marketing team and spent a lot of money, and we did not get the results as promised. And looking back on it now, you're like, I didn't know, because honestly, we did learn stuff from them, like how to use some systems. But yeah, we just paid way too much money. We even have a friend that's in business. You paid way too much for you live and you learn. I don't know. It is what it is. But I honestly think too, there would be some discussions where I'm like, oh, I don't really agree with that. And you just have to follow your gut, because nobody knows your product better than you. And just like in terms of the ads or the marketing, you're like, it's not really who I want to hook. And that's not really what my message I want it to be. So I would just say you have to go with your intuition for sure. You might not be able to explain it and say, this is why it feels wrong. I can't really explain it to you, but like, this just feels off. So honestly, I should have listened to my intuition a little bit more, but it is what it is.
Yeah, we live and learn. We live and learn. But let's zoom in.
Yeah.
Marketing team sub to do.
I would say to be very unique to your product instead of very broad. And I feel like that was the issue, was the content that they were putting out was very broad. Oh, how to wash your laundry. I'm like, I don't think people are coming to us because we're laundry experts. They're coming to me because I made Laundry Buddy, this one certain tool. So it felt like just pushing out content to have content, not actually quality content, which to me is way better to have quality content than quantity. So that was, I would say, our biggest thing. And then also we were running lots of ads on Facebook and Instagram. Our ROI was terrible. And it's you thinking it's because we were pushing on Facebook for forever. And that wasn't the target that we wanted to hit. And then also those people aren't buying on Facebook because they're this age and they don't trust buying on Facebook. So those were the other things, was getting the client demographic wrong.
Why it's not possible as much as we all want to, because Lord knows I've made mistakes myself. as much as we want to, it's not possible to go back in time and undo the initial. But what we can do is tell others how we would have done things differently having
Mhm.
known what we know now. So let's in an alternate universe, somebody hires a marketing company just like you did. They didn't know
Mhm.
much because everybody has to start out somewhere. And now they have
Mhm.
engaged with this marketing company. What are some things you would do differently having hired that company so that the results would be different?
I would ask if they actually sell or market your niche, like your product, what it is. Say you're in, I know ours is a brand new product, so it's hard, but let's say you're selling clothing and the people that you're going to marketing, most of their clients are for gym equipment. So they may not know the proper SEOs or how to market and how to find these specific clients that you need or these customers. So that would be my number one. And then honestly, ask for referrals. Ask if they're happy with this marketing team and what results have they given you. I would say those would be the two biggest things, would be referrals, and see if they actually have a history and know your market well.
Yeah, no, great points, great points. Looking forward the next couple of years, what do you want out of your life? What do you want out of your business? What's the vision?
I want to keep practicing and living an intentional life. I think we don't realize how much time and effort we put into things that aren't helping us or helping us grow and evolve or keeping us stunted. And I really want to be intentional with my life and conversations that I have, to what I'm watching, to what I'm doing with my free time. I just want to keep evolving as a person, because I think all the time and effort that you put into yourself, it's going to reflect in your work. And I don't think many people realize that. They just think, let me put all this time and effort into work with and disregarding themselves. And over time, that's going to diminish. And that's not a good system to be put in place. So coming on to like these podcasts and other speaking engagements where I'm talking and sharing my story, it's really helping me heal and hopefully giving someone else inspiration to go, you know what? Yeah, like I can do this. And maybe I'm not the version of myself right now that I need to be, but if she can do it, I can do it. If one person walks away with that, then to me, I feel like I've done my job. And that's what Laundry Buddy is about. I'm showing you, you can, if you work on yourself and you or dedicate yourself, that you can do and accomplish your dreams. You can do anything. So I just really want to keep being able to pour into myself, because I'm finding that it's pouring into other people.
Absolutely. When we hear about successful people, when we hear about their stories, sometimes we tend to believe that they're just gods and we are just
Mhm.
souls and we can never
Yeah.
do what they did. But the
Mhm.
reality is that every entrepreneur has a story like yourself. Almost every
Yeah.
entrepreneur comes from a place of doubt, confusion, lack of belief in themselves or others have showed in them. But those who make it are ones who believe themselves just a little bit more than what others think of them. And
Mhm.
then it's grit, determination, hard work, making mistakes, learning from them, and the rinse and
Mhm.
repeat cycle keeps them moving forward.
Yeah.
You are an amazing entrepreneur, but also a great human being, because you don't have to come out on these podcasts. You could just
Mhm.
use this time to work on your own business, and all that time put together, you could make a boatload of more money. But the fact that you come out on these podcasts and do these interviews and share your story just goes to show the real person behind the entrepreneur that is Aurora. So thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you so much for being so generous with your knowledge. Any last words for our audience?
I just have to say, I think that the number one thing that it helps me is we all have these ghosts of unfulfilled potential, of the person you're supposed to be, of the talents that you haven't used. And you don't want to get to the end of your life or your deathbed with all these ghosts haunting you. You don't want any of them around, because you want to be like, I used my talents, I used my capabilities, I believed in myself, and I became the person that I needed to be. I don't want to get to the end of my life with regrets. And to me, that is the worst thing than living a life that other people deemed that I should live. I would be misunderstood every single second, every single day of the week, than live a life that other people want me to live or expect of me.
Learning to be okay with being misunderstood and being a participant in your own life as opposed to a spectator. Thank you so
Yeah.
much again, Aurora, for coming on the show, sharing your journey. It's a pleasure talking to you, and hope we talk to you soon again.
Thank you.